Welcome to Product by Design with Kyle and Eva,
a podcast about product management and product design,
where we'll talk about subjects from product strategy to inclusive design.
Every episode, we just have a good conversation about all the things that you may already know or not know, and occasionally we'll have a guest from maybe engineering or other product managers and designers to talk about all these topics.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of Product by Design with Kyle and Eva. How's it going?
Good day. This is the first time we record in the not weekend, not end of week day. It is Monday and it feels very different.
Yeah, it's a Monday. We're coming to you on a Monday evening. So
I really like the way you said that line, like we're on the air real time, just like this is radio, like 35.7. Welcome. Yeah. I don't know what people say on radio, but yeah, how are you doing on this fine Monday?
Good. We got spring weather, nice out, so it's all good. I don't know, you feel it in the air, so I'm loving it. Hopefully wherever wherever people are listening, it's feeling like spring. I was on a call earlier with someone from London, and they were talking about how it was feeling springtime-ish there as well. And they were anxious to get outside and start enjoying it. So it was the end of the day and they were about to head outside and enjoy some nice time. Wow. So shout out to anybody in London. I was actually looking at our stats and we have, I think, quite a few listeners over there. So shout out to anybody London. Listening in London, in the UK. Hopefully you are enjoying some springtime weather as well.
So I used to have an uncle in London. I don't know. Well, I think he's in Kent. Well, okay. Actually, he passed away. I forgot about that. Not a close uncle, as you figured that out when I just remember that he passed away. But, and that's the only thing I know about London, and I always want to go there. A lot of people from Hong Kong, like London, love London, and really want to go there one of these days. And I actually just got vaccinated, so that can be in the near future.
Nice. Yeah. So, yeah. We love London. We went there for our anniversary a little while ago while you could still travel. And it's great. It's literally, I think probably my wife's favorite place to travel. Of all the places we've traveled, it is her favorite. So awesome. As soon as we can travel again, I'm sure it will be like top of the list to get back to. It's a great place.
I feel like everybody's going to be everywhere the second, the floodgates open.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I am also resuming my wedding planning since now there's a chance of gathering.
Nice.
So that's my second job right now. It feels like. I mean, it is event planning, but at the same time, it's kind of nice that yesterday I was talking to my husband. We already got married legally. And so we're like, oh yeah, what do we do with the planning? And he was like, no, we don't have to worry about that. Like everyone else in the wedding party worried about that. I'm like, oh, wow, that's great. So far, that's the one positive thing about the planning process that I'm like, yay. Everything else is just work.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
Yep.
It's fun, but still work. But yeah, I just want to skip to honeymoon and no, I still want a wedding, but it just, I wish I was like a millionaire where I'm just like, hey, wedding planner, take care of everything and read my mind. So we don't even have to do meetings. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. What's going on with you? How's the woodworking? How's everything?
It's good. Like I said, it's just enjoying the springtime. So I've got a whole long list of projects that now that we're coming into the nice weather, it will an ever growing list of things to be doing, but it's good. It feels like rejuvenating to be, to have the nice weather.
Winter.
Yeah, exactly.
What's your biggest projects like on the list right now?
It's definitely to finish the basement, which we got started in earnest a little like a week and a half ago or so.
All right.
Yeah. So started doing that. But then on top of that, we're going to be building a deck in our backyard. So like those two things are going to be going in tandem somehow. Yeah.
In tandem.
Yeah. So we'll be doing, now that the weather's nice, we'll like shift gears outside.
Right.
Try and do that like as quickly as possible. Build like a covered deck and then get back down into the basement and work on finishing that, that's just a huge project. But
wow.
Anyway, yeah, those are like big house projects.
May I report to you that me and my husband built a garden box this weekend, and we're like, yes, that's so grand that we did that. So props to you for taking on two humongous projects at once. That's a lot. That's crazy, but you're the pro. So
yeah,
are you excited?
Excited to have it done. Those are like the things that you want to have them and have them done, but doing them is always, that's always the challenge. You want to like look back and be like, yeah, I did that. And
right.
I enjoy it now, but
you want to skip to that.
Yeah. You want to just skip past the buying it and the doing it and the building, which for anybody who's like following the like commodities prices and stuff like that, building materials have skyrocketed. It's crazy. I was going through purchasing a whole bunch of stuff and I was like, have I just lost my mind? I thought that the price of wood was significantly less. Like, and this is like building material wood. I was like, I must be remembering wrong, but no, those prices have gone up significantly over the past year and a half or so. Almost tripled. Yeah. I'd been like hearing it, but it hadn't clicked that it had gone up so significantly until I went and started buying a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah,
I'll sell you my tree in my front yard. How about that? I'll start an auction. Sounds like a hot item right now. So who knows?
Yeah,
that's crazy. Another sign of spring. This is the last thing I'm going to talk about because spring is lovely, but allergies, guys, like, I know some of you listening here feel the pain that I'm feeling. Like the second I start sneezing, that's when I'm like, okay, spring's here. Trees are growing. And that's where I'm at. So you're going to hear me sneezing maybe. I'm going to try not to, but sniffling for sure. So springtime it's here. Officially started.
It's official. Yep. Allergy season.
This is a perfect time for me to attempt to segue into our topic today because springtime, what do we do? Spring cleaning. And for some people, it is job hunting season. And I feel like, I don't know, all year long is job hunting season. Depends on where you're at with, your current job. But we're going to talk about the do's and don'ts plus all the other stuff for interviews for product jobs. Right, Kyle?
Yeah. Yeah. So your career and looking for a role within product management or product design and how to go about a job search and in the whole interview process. So this is, I think we might even go like high level overview. And then if we have to like dive into specifics, like within some of these different topic areas, we may do that. Like we'll see where this conversation goes because it's a good one. It's a really interesting one. So yeah.
Yeah. I'm already having flashbacks of like being interviewed and also interviewing people. And this is going to be a great episode.
Yeah. It almost feels like we may need to just break it down into some more pieces, but it's exciting. So let's jump into it and talk about how should you go about that big overwhelming thing of finding a new role or finding a role within product management or product design, or even extrapolating that a little further, because I think you could take a lot of these tips and apply them to any sort of job search or job hunt. But high level first off. So this is kind of, and the great thing about this is I think you're going to get some tips here that you're not going to get other places. So like, yeah,
exclusive.
Yeah, this is totally, because as I was going through this and like searching out some of what other people were saying, and then looking through and thinking about both as I've done this in the past and as I have interviewed and done other things, like both been the interviewer and the interviewee, what are some of the things that people should know? And I don't think that this is out there as much as it should be. So I think this is going to be really useful. But the first thing and this is kind of a high level thing that I would start with, is applying a product mindset to your career in general. And I think this is hugely important. And this kind of overarches everything that I think we'll talk about, at least from my perspective, which is kind of the product discovery and the design thinking mindset to your career and to your job search, which is first off, understanding, then exploring, and then actually creating and implementing those things. So like applying that to your career in general. So like understanding what your interests are, your likes and your dislikes, and what you want to do, and then exploring the possibilities of that. So like the roles, the companies, the opportunities, and then actually taking those things and either, kind of creating the role for yourself, doing the work, implementing like what you have done in your career, both like inside and outside your company. So like applying that to your career and then applying that same mindset to your job search, like understanding the companies, the people, the culture, everything that you're like doing within your job search. And then the explore part of it, like exploring the different options, exploring the roles, exploring like your resume, different types of resumes and answers and things like that. And then actually like testing and iterating on those things, like as you go through, like implementing that. So kind of going through that whole process of understanding, exploring, and implementing. So basically taking some of these things we've talked about in other episodes and actually applying them to your job search. So we'll dive into that a little bit more, I think, as we talk through this, but I think that's a good framework to think about both your career and your job search is understand, explore, and implement and create as you go about it.
I really like this strategy that you have shared because I do think that job searching can be very emotional, and even like asking yourself, like, is this job, for me, blah, blah, blah. And you have to think about your whole career and this whole big picture. This can get really emotional. And I think having this right mindset going into it can keep you more, I guess, level headed and more calm throughout the process. So I like that we're starting off with this, I guess, calibrate yourself with, what you're looking for. And that's really cool. I like that.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I think it's super helpful too, because it's going to be a process as you go through it. And so like really just understanding that from the beginning that you have to just iterate as you go through. So understand. And that's like the big thing for me. It's always been understanding like what it is that you want to do, and then exploring a whole bunch of the different things, and then just trying to implement some of the things that you learn as you go through it, and then just iterating on a whole bunch of it and experimenting with both answers to questions with resumes,
right,
and not only with that through your job search, but with different types of roles as you actually get into your career and different things that you're doing, and then just kind of continually doing that in your career. And as you progress throughout it, it's because nobody's like stagnant and nobody's doing the same thing forever. So like, how can you continually do that within your career and then do that as you're searching for new roles and opportunities? So cool. All right. So now as we get specifically into the job search itself, I have 5 tips, like five main things, like kind of start to finish. And Eva, you can you've probably got some things here too, but these are like the 5 things that I kind of boiled it down to. And this is kind of like starts pre-job search and goes to like post-job search for me.
Whole journey.
Yeah, like the whole journey.
Yeah.
So the first one for me is create your brand. And this goes back to something that I think I've done and a conversation I had with somebody a little while ago, that he was searching for a new role during COVID. So we were talking a few months ago, and he had been laid off from his organization, and it was just one of those COVID things.
Right.
And he had, and it was kind of unfortunate because before he had worked for this company for a long time, and he had done a lot of like outside things, but he had given all of that up because his company didn't want him doing a lot of those things. And so now he had no like personal brand because he had to give it all up. And so now there was no like presence or nothing that he could kind of point to for another employer to kind of look at. And so he was kind of going and like having to reestablish all of that, which is really unfortunate because when you create that, it really gives people something to look at as they go and say like, hey, who is this person? What are they about?
Right.
Like, what can, what can I learn? Especially nowadays, like what is your brand? Like, what are you about?
Yeah.
And it's hugely beneficial. Like I can say from personal experience, like writing and podcasting and doing these things has been probably one of the most impactful things for me and has directly led to opportunities. So that's not necessarily like what you have to do, but doing those types of things, creating like a specific brand for you, whatever that is, can directly lead to opportunities. So that's my first like tip before you're even looking, or I think that's the most beneficial, but like, what is it that you can do to like start to create that personal brand?
Yes. It's almost like what are you as a product, as a service can provide to potential employers, right? And I think also one thing I do want to point out is that I think nowadays a lot of people want to do it, but then I think it's obvious when some people are doing it just for the sake of doing it, just so that they can get a job. Versus Kyle, I see that you're very consistent about putting ideas and just your thinking out there, not just to get the next cool job, but it's something that you like doing, right? And I think that has to be there. It cannot be just a facade of, oh, I just put out 2 articles. So, that's not what we were talking about here.
Yeah.
If I have to guess. But yeah, I agree with that branding idea.
Yeah. Yeah. If you enjoy just screaming into the void, like some of us do, then you scream into that void constantly and consistently.
Oh man, there's so much we can talk about on this topic too. And anyways, before I derail you, I actually ran into that issue of like, do I do all these things, after hours in order to establish my brand, and how do I do that and all that stuff, right? And I think it's different from person to person, and I think as long as it's genuine, you will get somewhere.
Yeah. It's got to be genuine. It's got to be something you enjoy. Like, and those are the things, like, don't do something just because you want to get a job from it or something like that. Like if that was the sole purpose of this podcast, like we would never be able to sustain it. I would never be able to sustain it. If that was the sole purpose of like why I was doing other things, like it would just, it would be like soulless and I would hate it.
Soul sucking too.
Yeah, exactly. But find like the things that you love to do, like that you would do even if nobody was like looking at it, which some of the things that so I feel like some of the things that I do, like I was doing them when nobody was like even caring about them. And like,
before
I was just
cool.
And and sometimes it even feels like that still, but it's like, I love it. And I'm just going to keep doing it, even if like nobody ever looked at it, because I enjoy it. And so like find that thing and do that. And that can be your thing.
Yes. And I think I'm almost on the opposite spectrum of that because I, at one point, like I said, I tried to put things out there and then, man, I just didn't love it as much as I wanted to. And also it took so much time after hours too. And I mean, on that note, like props to you that I am always like, wow, Kyle's doing so much. I need to do more. But then, anyways, there's a spectrum of how to establish your brand. And I think for me, I'm on the other side of the spectrum, but it doesn't mean that that cannot be, one way for you to establish something that you're proud of. Right. So it doesn't always have to be out there on the internet where, I mean, maybe I'm giving myself an excuse, but, but yeah, at work, I talk about all the design stuff I want to talk about, testing stuff. And I think building a brand within your own circle, either professionally, socially, people know that you're passionate about it. You will see opportunities coming your way when you don't expect also. Anyways.
Yeah. And I think that it perfectly segues into like my second thing, which is focus on people and that goes both before and while you are looking for a job, because it really comes down to people, both like at your current company, at other companies, and while you're being interviewed, after you've been interviewed, it really is about relationships and about people. Like it's people making decisions, it's people who you're working with. It's like we're all people, and that's what this is all about. It's like we're making things for people and we're working with people. So like focus on actual people and don't focus on networking in like the negative way. Focus on like actually getting to know people in a really positive way. And that's, actually that this is a perfect spot that I want to bring up one of my do's, which is, be a good listener, especially during interviews, because during the interview, if they already invite you to, want to see you in person, your work probably reached a certain, threshold of quality, and they want to just see that you are a person that they can work with. And I think at that point, like being yourself and treating that as an interview, not for just the quality of work that you can produce, because I mean, nobody can really test you that during the half an hour that they, see you. Right. But during that time, being a good communicative, and good listener, I think is very important during the interview time. And just kind of, echoing what you said, Kyle, because people don't want to work with someone that they cannot see themselves working with, right? And during that interview, if you have your foot in the door, like use that time to show them that you are that person that people want to work with. Yep, exactly. Yeah, and you do that by focusing on people and by being a good listener and doing all of those things. And
I feel like this is like life lesson. Just do that all day, every day.
Yeah. Exactly. Being empathetic by being all of the product things that we talk about probably in like a lot of shows, like be a good product person and empathize and listen well. And all of those things.
I like that you also use the word empathize with, the interviewers, right? And actually that, if I may, my another on my do's list is basically empathize with the interviewers and ask them why they're hiring and about their team structure. I think that is a great, you're basically opening up a window to understand what problems they're trying to solve. And again, applying that product mindset to make sure you are targeting the problem the other side is presenting to you. And even though you're asking them a question, but this is a great window for you to provide them an answer to tell them why you're a good fit and what you can offer to target the problems that they're running into and what they're looking for. So that's a big one on my list.
Yeah.
What else?
Nice. All right. So number 3, and this one, I've kind of gone, this is more like a learning one for me. And learn from like personal experience. So I call this one company over role. So you'll have the chance to create opportunities as you move into like a good company. But if you take a good role at a bad company, you'll be moving on quickly. So like some of the examples are, if you move into a role, so let's say like just a product, let's say you move into a product manager role at a fast moving, high growing company when you were looking for like a senior product manager role. Chances are that you do good work, you're going to move rapidly into, a senior product manager role, and then, move into other roles, like as the company grows. And as you progress there and as the company progresses and things like that, and you'll have the chance for growth and progression and things like that. Whereas if you move into a role with a company that isn't growing or has like a really toxic culture, maybe it has like a better title, but chances are you're not going to grow with that company. You're not going to stick around. Like if you take it simply for the title, or take it simply, because of something like that, chances are you're going to be moving on a lot more quickly than moving into a good company, like a good culture, like a good growth opportunity, than if you had like taken on something else. So I think like broadly speaking, this is like do your due diligence on picking the right culture, the right company, and the right role is kind of like the broader thing for this specific one.
I think we're lucky that in Utah, I feel like it's a very small world that likely we already know 5 to 6 people that, have been at the place that you're going to interview at. But I would say that's where I would go search on LinkedIn and find your connections and find out people that have worked at those places. And even the second, what is that called? Second degree connection. Like that's where I think LinkedIn is truly helpful. Because I think it's very hard to, there are definitely numbers and business performance data you can find right on the internet about, your potential new company. But definitely the culture part, I would highly recommend you to search in your LinkedIn to find the connections that you have to kind of, do your homework on finding out the culture that really is the company you're wanting to join. But Kyle, I really like what you said about the position versus company point. That's very interesting. I've never thought about it that way. And I also want to kind of piggyback on that. And because people, I guess the one argument that I have heard the most when people compare two different job offers is, well, one has better pay, the other one has better title. Which one should I pick? I it's going to make me sound like a awful person, but I will always take pay over title. And also look at it as like where the ceiling of this title give you. Where I think that yes, a better title, it's always going to give you more opportunity, more, next title, you can move up to something even higher. But then I would also say if you're looking at the pay doesn't, adhere to where the title should be. Even though it's a better title, it doesn't give you what you really need to elevate your life, quality of life. And you're going to have more responsibilities than you actually feel like they're paying you enough for, because they're never going to just, say, oh, actually, we would like to give you a raise out of nowhere, right? Like that conversation is not that easy to have, right when you join a new company, right? So, I just want to point that out. And I would say, just from my personal experience, to pay over title. So, if you have both, then great.
Yep.
So hopefully you have both. Yeah.
And you bring up a good point of striking the right balance of, it's difficult to, once you kind of move in, your at the place that you're at. And, as far as like pay and title and place and all of those things. And obviously, nothing is set in stone forever, but you kind of move into something for, a certain amount of time, most likely. And so like those are kind of the terms that you initially agree to. And so making sure that all of that fits with what you're looking for. And all of that kind of goes back to just having a good understanding of what you ultimately want within both your job search and your career, and making sure that those things are really just aligning with where you are now and where you want to go. And I don't think we often spend enough time thinking about those things. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself or at least my past self, like, really thinking about that, because, we can get on certain paths and then, not put in enough time once we're on those paths, thinking about like what's next and what do I want to do and how should I approach this best to accomplish like the goals that I have and what I want to do. So really understanding that and putting in the right work to get moving in the right direction or to keep moving in the right direction or to change if that's not the direction you want to go.
Yep. Okay. And I agree with everything you said. And I want to add one more comment too, is that the reason why I said what I said is also because it's always faster to gain more responsibilities than getting a raise. So and especially if you're doing good work, which I kind of take that as like a given. You go in and do good work. So like you can get more responsibility, and chances are, you can always increase your responsibility and do good enough work over like a period of time. And chances are like you can move up within an organization and things like that. So, right. Your company is definitely more than happy to give you more responsibilities than more raises. Not that they don't want to, but you get the idea.
Yeah. All right.
Tweet at me if you don't agree.
All right. Number 4 is, and this is getting into specifically into like interview time. So we've kind of gone over like your prepping, within your career, your job search. So within an interview itself, and this is before and within an interview, but I call this become a storyteller. So this isn't just like have answers to interview questions, but like really become a storyteller. And I think this is like part of product in general, but have your stories and know how to tell them well. And that goes for like all of the most common interview questions. What are the key takeaways that you want to have within an interview, and know them really, really well. Like know what is the problem, and then what's the punchline that you want to deliver, and then make sure that you practice that, and then you deliver those punchlines at some point during an interview. So it's not just knowing what the most common questions are and then having answers. It's like, what are the stories that go along with that in order to really leave a mark? And then what's the punchline? Like if you were going to just hashtag tweet something, what's the 100 character tweet that somebody can take away that's like, okay, yeah, I remember what the punchline of that story was that Eva said, and that was a good story, and now we can talk about it like after the interview. Is like, oh yeah, in this question that was a fun story that Eva told about whatever thing it was, and everybody can talk about it and that sort of thing. So like, and making sure that I like to have a few stories that kind of cover a variety of different things, so that like no matter what the questions are, at least there's a bunch of different stories that you can kind of pull out and use, and then have those kind of practiced so that you can kind of pull from a bunch of different places and talk about them and be a storyteller. Basically, that's what it comes down to.
This is so perfect because on my do's and my don'ts, I have a few things that hit just right about that. So, I like that you described that as a storytelling experience. And one of my do's is definitely talk about your favorite projects or products that you have worked on. I think this applies to both product designers and product managers or product whoever people, because this is where people are going to remember you, of you telling a story that you're actually passionate about, excited about. And I would recommend you pick two different things within, that perimeters, those perimeters, because then you have a backup of the other one if the conversation doesn't go one way. But definitely prepare a story to tell about your favorite projects or products that you have worked on. Highly recommended. This is where I think it not only does it leave a good impression of like, oh yeah, this person is passionate about this, but also you're also telling a story that you're confident telling. I think a lot of people, especially the ones that are not good at interviewing, do not see it as a interviewing. It's the job interview. That is scary to some people. But if you're just seeing it as a presentation that you're excited to go in and tell about, tell them about this particular project, I think that puts your mind in a different space. It can be very helpful. And I definitely remember one of the most memorable interviews I've been in, where the interviewee actually came in with a presentation that she prepared, and she was going through like what she did for this particular, project. And it was just the best because there was the beginning, the middle, and the end to, her presentation. Highly recommended on this. And do not just, I think this one is going to be particular to product designer. I know there is this saying of let your work speak for itself. Like, no, that doesn't work in a job interview. Like, people can look through hundreds of resumes and portfolios and all that stuff, but you have to speak. You have to be able to speak to your process and your thinking and, your testing methods and all that, all the moving pieces that go into the results, right? Do not rely on your work to speak for itself, because it literally does not speak for itself in that setting. So should I keep going? I feel like I am fired up about this right now. And while you're telling the story of why you're passionate about this job and whatever too, do not get philosophical or just leave it at the high level. Get specific and definitely mention past experience, because the worst thing you can do is just saying like, oh, I think this, or I believe in this, or, something that is very, very nebulous and loose, because that is not a story. Nobody is going to remember, because those are things that are so neutral. Nobody can disagree. Nobody can, buy into what you're saying, right? Use the theories that or principles that to support a story of your past experience, of your project, of your product, anything, right? But it has to be specific. So there's another don'ts on my list. Man, I really am fired up about this interview conversation. But may I continue, or do you have another one you want to put in before I kidnap?
I have one last one, but it's like post interview. So
Okay. Then I'm gonna go through my last two, and then that will be perfect. So during interview, and this is one of the things that I am surprised that people are still doing, is do not try to solve the interviewer's problems on the spot, because you likely will not be able to. There's no way, that someone mentioned, oh, we're not able to do this thing, blah. And then I remember it happened seriously, 5 months ago, where we mentioned a problem that the team is experiencing, and the interviewee literally was like, well, I do this in my college course and it probably is a good solution. Or do you know about this other tool or product that can do this thing? And immediately I just was like, well, thank you. Because there's just if we are not able to solve that problem, after so many meetings of 10 people trying to, resolve this issue, likely it's more complex than what I'm telling you right now during the interview. Definitely show your initiative or creativity, but do not try to think that you're bringing the answer to the table. Going back to being a good listener, and empathize with, the interviewer, right? Like, you're likely not going to solve their problems, but yeah, don't tell them that you have a solution on the spot, because that is not going to make you look good. So there's that. And another don't that I have, this is my last one, is so kind of relevant to what we talked about earlier, like creating your brand. So it's recommended that you adjust your resume, adjust your cover letter to match with the job you're interviewing for, right? But the worst thing that can happen is that I can see the exact, same sentence structure for this job that you're interviewing for. And then I go on your LinkedIn and it's the exact same sentence structure, but more generic, which I can then tell you're basically mass producing your resume or, your own branding to fit different jobs. You're just mass, applying for jobs. And that becomes, that makes you look very not genuine and not really, interested in this particular job. Right. And so that's something that I recommend, do what you can to adjust your resume, but don't just make sure you clean up your other public profile to make sure you don't show your cards, like the unedited, unspecific version of your branding, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. This literally happened. But anyways, yeah, so that's all my items for interview and post interview. What advice do you have?
All right. So this kind of goes back to like our product discovery or design thinking, which is then finally like review and learn. And so take all of the things, both from like what you've done with your applications, from like an interview process, from the discussions you've had, take time to review what you've done, like record notes from like the interview itself, from what you've learned, like what you talked about, the questions that you were asked, and, basically what you talked about. One, so that you can recall them later. This is a big thing as you go through multiple rounds of interviews. It can become difficult, like as fresh as things are in your mind, like as you walk out, that will fade. So like take some time to jot down some notes so that you can go back and reference them later, especially like as you may go through like multiple rounds and they may be like spaced several weeks apart. And then also so that you can learn from that. Like some of the best things that I have done are to like learn from the interview questions that I've gotten from one place, and then take that and build off it. Like you can be surprised by an interview question once, but don't be surprised by it like multiple times. Like if you get taken aback by it one time, don't get taken aback by it a second time. And I know that happened to me in one interview. Like somebody asked a question and I was kind of taken back by it, and I had an okay response, but I was like, oh man, I got thinking about it, and it became like part of an article that I wrote, because I was like, all right, I put a lot of thought into it. And I was like, okay, now I have a really, really good response. So if anybody ever asks again, they haven't yet. But if anybody ever does, like I have like a really in-depth response, because I've put a lot of thought into that specific question, because it was a good question. So now like I'm prepared for it. But so like let that kind of build your bank of what are things that people are asking. So don't just rely on like what are the most common questions out there, but let the things that people are actually asking fuel your bank of questions, and then come up with what are good responses to those questions, and actually put time and thought into what those are. And then how did you respond to it? Don't get down on too down on yourself, because like you will learn from all of the interviews and discussions that you have, but take time to actually build on that and get better for the future. And I I personally have like a bank going back for years and years of things that I can then pull up and like reference for the future. Not that everything's always going to be the same, but like it is good, for the next time I may interview years down the road or whenever that is, that I can go back and like actually start refreshing my memory and start thinking through what does that look like, not just from articles of like, here's the 20 most common questions you get asked in an interview, but like, what is my actual experience, and start using that again. So review and learn and record that for your own sake as you go through the process.
I really like that. And especially if you already have all these like, I guess, answers and response that you're really proud of, you can definitely incorporate that with the story you tell, that you present about your favorite work that you have done. And even if they happen to not ask any of them, then present it to them anyways. So
exactly.
Find that window.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You could find, if you have like 2 or 3 things that you want to get into an interview, make sure. And a lot of times people will ask at the end, like, hey, is there anything else you want us to know? If you didn't have a chance to get something in, that's a great time to say, I want to tell you about this one thing, or, I have one final story or something like that, and make sure to get whatever the main point is in there, especially if it's something really important for the interviewer to know. Exactly.
But also don't wait until the end, because you definitely want them to feel like, oh, I wish I had more time with this person, keep selling yourself through stories, right?
Yep, exactly. There you go.
Awesome. Okay. There you go. Now go get jobs.
There's our 5 big things for your job search, complete with lots of interview things. So create your brand, focus on people, company over role, become a storyteller, and be specific in the interview, and then review and learn from all of the things that you do. And that's not just in the interview, but like your resume too, and all of the things that go into your job search, like test stuff out and like build on it.
That was beautiful, the way you recapped everything on your list. And now I'm like, okay, how do I recap mine? Well, dear listener, just start the episode over, because I'm not able to quickly recap all my points. But one main thing, just really empathize with your interviewers, because we just want to get somebody who can do the thing. And trust me, we want to hire somebody. Listen to this episode again and again.
There you go. You replay it. Yep.
But we really want you to get jobs, get a job that you like. And we want all our people to be happy.
Cool. There it is.
Awesome. Is it time to head into shout out or the lover or hater corner? Yes. I want to come up with a name with this, but I have not been able to. But do you have... Are you a lover this week, or are you a hater this week?
I've got gripes this week. So, so many gripes, but we did our taxes this week. So gripes all around.
Justified already.
First off, tax code is just, we'll keep this episode like PG rated, but it's how we don't riot as a country over our tax code every year is just, it's baffling to me. Like, it is just absolute garbage. And then this is probably going to be like, TurboTax has been long held up as like a really great product, but this might be like unpopular product opinion. I don't think TurboTax is that great. Like, it takes a bad, like an absolute horrific experience in doing your taxes and makes it slightly less horrific. Like, but if you're on like the edge, okay, so it does that if you are like a very, very straight case within your taxes. Like, if you stray off of like the normal path, then you're just back to like the absolute hell of taxes. So I'm not going to call that a great product experience. Like, if you move into like any sort of like, not even edge case, but just off of like the main path of taxes, like all of a sudden you're back into like trying to figure out what all of the different schedules are and like all of the different stuff.
Nightmare.
It's just a nightmare. So, gripe with the tax code, and then specifically with TurboTax. Like I don't think it's a great product. So there it is.
I think it's not a really TurboTax not being a great product. I think it's the tax system.
Yeah.
That is the root of all evil.
It's, it's probably just, it's been held up for so long as like, oh, it's this amazing thing and it makes it so great. It makes it great if like you're just main course, like really your taxes are just like the easy taxes that can just like drive you right through that sort of stuff. But like as soon as you get anything like kind of off the beaten path, like then it gets all sorts of like
I feel like it's not even off the beaten path, but it's like literally if you do one freelance job, that's kaboom. What do you do? That's exactly
like you do. That's where we were. Like you do like a little freelance stuff, and then all of a sudden you're just like you're just out in nowhere. Like you figure this out on your own now. Like it's like, this isn't even that much stuff. Like this should not be difficult, but it's just garbage, total garbage.
I think this is the most emotional I've heard from you. Just true. Like,
and I'm even like toning it down. Cause like I was like ready to tweet yesterday and some pretty strong, some strong language. So I probably will send it out. Yeah.
Do it.
We'll keep this.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
You're not alone. I'm ready for you to start bleeping out like words that you use in this episode. Very strong emotions, but I'm with you because last year was the first one that I did one freelance job and I'm like, okay, time to hire somebody to do my taxes because now I don't know what I'm doing.
Yep. Yeah, we figured it out, but it should not be as difficult as it is. Yeah.
Did you know for sure you figured it out though?
No. But
exactly.
we're taking the gamble that it's not worth it for the IRS to audit us over the amount that it was. So
you have $500, please. We're gonna swat you to get that money.
Yeah, they cannot possibly care about the amount, like the small amount that it's probably not wrong, and if it is, they cannot possibly care. So,
you know what would be a better solution?
So we went over many, many possible better solutions, but I don't know that you could possibly make it worse. Yeah. But yeah.
Oh,
here's your better solution.
So anything is better than what it is right now. And I agree. And I would say, just make it easier, make it better. Then I don't want people to lose jobs, but then I, at the same time, feel like there are probably 20,000 people working at the IRS trying to go through, like flipping through the printed version of your tax return, just trying to go through line by line and be like, field 13A, does that add up, according to field 5B and C? There are probably people doing that right now. And now that I'm saying it out loud, the only one reason that, every time we file taxes, it's still in this printed format that it's going to them. I really suspect that it's just manual review, even though these are literally just expected input of numbers. Are you serious? Okay. Oh, wow. That really hurts me to even think about that. They're really just manually reviewing. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. That's I don't even know. Like, it's just such a massive hot mess. Making the process easier, then you will probably save a lot of money by not having people to have to manually review everything, to audit everything. And also probably we don't have to feel like we're missing something, maybe. Yeah.
I don't know.
There's so many better solutions, and we could probably spend like a whole, like multiple episodes on all the myriad ways that you could make this better.
Another podcast. And did you know that you're supposed to be able to file, for free, and then Intuit and TurboTax, all these companies have a free version, but they bury it in the internet so they can't find it.
Yeah.
Because, people got to make money, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, that's a whole, another podcast.
Yes. Yep.
I'm sure a lot of podcasts have covered this topic, but this is how do you name this? Tax Talk?
Tax Talk. Yeah.
Yep. TED Talk is going to sue me. I'm just kidding. Anyways, but I don't have a gripe, but I feel you on the tax talk. So this is it.
There we go. All right. Don't forget to do your taxes, everybody. The time is coming up.
Is this going to come out? Wait, is it going to come up before tax season end? I think it's going to come out after.
No, this will come out before. Yeah.
Wait, when is tax season ending?
April 16th is
17th?
16th or 17th?
16th?
Yeah, April 16th is usually
I thought it was April 1st for some reason.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Listener, do your taxes.
Yeah.
But if you're in London or anywhere else in the world, don't worry about it. Just a hole that we have dug here in the United States. And I don't think other countries have to do taxes to the degree that we have to do it here.
No, that was the question that we were talking about. Is I'm not sure what other countries do, but it can't possibly be worse than what we do. Yeah, so
not in Hong Kong, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I'm probably going to look into that and figure out what other countries do because I'm interested.
London people, tell us.
Yeah,
what's
be interested in hearing what you do.
Better way. But this is it.
Okay.
And happy job hunting.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
See ya. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. You can find out more about us and our podcast on our website at productbydesign.co. You can also follow us on Twitter at prodbydesign. That's at prod_by_design. You can follow me on Twitter at Kyle Larry Evans, and you can also find Eva on Twitter at Yan Chow Chow. See you next time.